This season, only 11 players have logged at least 200 isolation possessions. Of those 11, 10 were all-stars, including elite talents like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Yiannis, Jayson Tatum, Jalen Brunson, James Harden, and Anthony Edwards, with the only exception being Tyrese Maxey. Yet, despite the star-studded company, the most efficient isolation scorer among them isn't any of those all-stars. It's Kevin Durant. In fact, Durant is having his most dominant ISO scoring season since the 2020-2021 NBA season, and his second best of the last decade. To put that in perspective, aside from James Harden's legendary 2017-2018 campaign, no MVP winner in the past 10 seasons has been more efficient in isolation during their MVP year than Durant is right now. And that's just one piece of his offensive brilliance this season. His impact extends far beyond isolation scoring. We haven't even touched on his lethal spot-up shooting, his dominance in the post, his effectiveness as a screener, his mastery in the pick and roll, or his uncanny ability to rise up and drain shots over double teams like they aren't even there. This is just a glimpse of how special Kevin Durant still is in his 17th NBA season. Despite Kevin Durant's elite efficiency as an isolation scorer, he could and arguably should be getting even more ISO opportunities. The Phoenix Suns rank just 19th in the league in isolation possessions per game, with only 6.5% of their total offensive plays coming from ISOs. Yet when they do run a KD ISO, it's one of the most effective offensive weapons in their arsenal. So what makes Durant's isolation game so dominant? Let's start with the obvious. At 6'11", with a 7'5" wingspan, contesting his shot is a nightmare for any wing defender. Even from a standstill, he can rise up and shoot over virtually anyone. But it doesn't stop there. Durant's arsenal of go-to moves allows him to create separation with ease, whether by driving past defenders or using his signature pull-up jumper. Once he gets that space, the defense is at his mercy. Force him to the rim, and he's an elite finisher. Try to take away the drive, and he'll bury a mid-range jumper right in your face. The numbers back it up. KD is converting an absurd 58.6% of his field goal attempts on drives, ranking 4th in the entire league among players with at least 100 attempts, and that's including both mid-range shots and finishes at the rim. On top of that, he's the best mid-range scorer in the NBA this season, knocking down an elite 55.3% of his mid-range attempts. Simply put, whether it's in isolation, the pick and roll, or transition, if Kevin Durant decides to drive, the odds say he's making more than half his shots. And that's a problem for every defender in the league. Kevin Durant has two signature go-to moves when attacking his defender in isolation. The first is a classic but deadly jab step, which he often uses from a standstill after receiving a pass. A fundamental move for any elite ISO scorer, and KD loves using this move whenever he's attacking a defender on an ISO, faking one way with a sharp jab before exploding in the opposite direction. That quick second step creates just enough separation for him to either drive to the rim or pull up for a silky jumper, depending on how the defense reacts. His second go-to move is all about deception and speed. When KD is already dribbling, he sells his defender on a fake drive in one direction, slowing down his dribble, only to explode into a lightning-quick crossover and attack the other way. The sudden shift often catches defenders off guard, especially against bigs that are slow-footed. And with his long strides, he can either glide to the rim or rise up for a pull-up jumper, one that he can sink over nearly any wing defender in the league. This move isn't just reserved for isolation plays either. KD frequently utilizes it in pick-and-roll actions and handoff situations, making defenders second-guess their every step. He'll sell the screen like he's about to use it, only to swiftly reject it with a quick crossover, leaving his defender in the dust as he drives to the rim. More often than not, they're caught flat-footed. It's a simple yet devastatingly effective weapon in his offensive arsenal, one that keeps defenders on their heels at all times. Yet beyond these two signature moves, there's an undeniable reality. Kevin Durant isn't just a 7'5" wingspan anomaly. He's 240 pounds of offensive firepower. His slender frame might fool people into thinking he's easy to stop on drives or in physical matchups, but in truth, he's the one doing the bullying. Finding wing defenders strong enough to hold back a 240-pound scorer attacking the rim is rare, Even defensive specialists like Amin Thompson, Lou Dort, and Toumani Camara struggle to match his size and strength. And sometimes, KD doesn't even need an elaborate dribble move to shake his defender. He simply overpowers them. Once he gets where he wants, it's game over. If help defense comes, he reads it instantly, deciding whether to pull up or attack the rim. Either way, his primary defender is powerless to dictate the outcome. Stopping KD in isolation already feels impossible, but here's the wildest part. Even when the double team comes, he remains unfazed. While most players, including stars, would instinctively pass out of pressure or panic and turn the ball over, Durant has another option. His height and wingspan allow him to rise up and shoot over the double team like they aren't even there. And the craziest thing? He makes those shots consistently. KD is scoring in ways most players can only dream of. That's why he isn't just one of the best ISO scorers of all time, he's one of the greatest scorers the game has ever seen. Now, let's get back to how KD overpowers smaller defenders, and defenders in general. He doesn't just use his strength to drive past weaker matchups, he also puts it to work in the post. His post-up efficiency this season hasn't been elite, converting just 42.5% of his attempts, ranking around the 40th percentile in post-up offense league-wide. But that number includes possessions against bigger, stronger centers and forwards. When you isolate his post-ups against smaller wings and guards, the story changes dramatically. Against those matchups, Durant is a nightmare. He can back them down with ease, but more often than not, he doesn't even need to. He simply shoots right over them. And you might wonder, why opt for a fadeaway instead of backing them down for a hook shot? Well, for KD, fadeaways and turnaround jumpers are second nature. He's spent years perfecting them, turning difficult shots into routine ones. That's exactly why he's widely regarded as the greatest mid-range scorer of all time. And this season, he's proving it once again, leading the entire league in mid-range efficiency, knocking down an impressive 55.3% of his mid-range jumpers. This isn't just about consistently hitting face-up mid-range shots, it's about his ability to make an absurd variety of difficult, highly contested jumpers. And for him, those post-up fadeaways, they're often no different from wide-open looks. Smaller wings struggle to even contest his shot effectively, and at times, he makes them look just as effortless against bigger defenders like Jaden McDaniels too. There are even moments when KD doesn't take a single dribble in the post. He'll receive the pass, square up his defender, and rise up for a clean jumper. No wasted motion, just pure efficiency. Even when defenders manage to get a good contest, it rarely matters. If the Suns can lean into this even more, using KD as a screener and pick-and-roll actions to force switches onto smaller defenders, then immediately feeding him in the post, his efficiency in these situations could climb even higher. And that only makes Phoenix's offense more dangerous. This season, the Suns have utilized KD in just about every offensive role imaginable, whether it's isolation scoring, pick-and-roll actions as both a ball handler and roll man, handoffs, or post-up sets. But interestingly, the role they've used him in the most? Spot-up shooting. Now, some might argue that being a spot-up shooter isn't exactly an offensive action or play call. But when it comes to KD, it might as well be, because he's simply that elite at it. The reason the Suns love deploying him in this role comes down to one thing: his gravity as a shooter. His lethal three-point efficiency, especially in standstill situations, means his defender can't afford to help off him. That spacing is crucial. For example, when Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, or Tyus Jones initiates a pick and roll or isolation, KD's mere presence on the wing or in the corner eliminates the possibility of weak side help. And if his defender does make the mistake of rotating away, even for a split second, a kick out to Durant is almost guaranteed to result in 3 points. Essentially, even when KD isn't the focal point of an action, his shooting alone tilts the defense, and that's what makes him such an invaluable weapon in the Suns' offense. To truly understand the magnitude of Durant's threat as a spot-up shooter, let's dive into some noteworthy numbers. This season, Durant has an astounding 62.1 effective field goal percentage on spot-up shots, placing him among the top 15% of players with at least 100 spot-up attempts. But here's where it gets even more impressive. KD is hitting 42.2% of his three-pointers when his defender is within 2 to 4 feet of him. Now, that's a percentage that some of the league's most elite shooters can only dream of. even when they're wide open. For context, Steph Curry is shooting 37.5%, Tyler Hero is at 31.5%, and Devin Booker, his own teammate, is at 27.9% on those same contested shots. And remember, these players are considered specialists when it comes to three-point shooting. Of course, Durant's length plays a major role in his ability to shoot over defenders effortlessly, but let's not overlook the true mastery behind it all. Having the physical tools is one thing, but maximizing those tools to their absolute fullest, that's where Durant truly separates himself. He's not just tall, he's skilled. And when you combine that rare blend of height and finesse, it becomes clear. Stopping KD is a nearly impossible task. There's honestly so much more I could dive into when it comes to KD's game this season, both on offense and defense. I could talk about the outstanding season he is having as both a pick-and-roll scorer and creator, his underrated skills as an isolation defender, or how he's been a shot-blocking menace and rim deterrent all season long, with his 71 blocks ranking him among the top 20 in the league. But I'll save all of that for another video, perhaps closer to the end of the season when we have a clearer picture of KD's overall impact and where this season stands in the context of his legendary career. For now, I just want to thank you once again for tuning in, and I hope to catch you all in our next player breakdown.